Hi, and welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In these videos, I livestream the development of the AnyRPG Engine, a free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. If you don't already have a copy of AnyRPG, you can pick one up from anyrpg.org/downloads in both Unity package and source code format. You can also find free copies of the games that I'm working on at the same page. In today's episode, we will be adding the final element to the Mana Seal cutscene, and that's some sun lasers that will be charging our robots during the day. So, since the last episode, I've actually added the changing the lighting with the Unity timeline as well. And let's just go take a look at the timeline, or I mean at the cutscene, and then see its current state, and then we'll add the new lasers in right after that. So I'm going to load up the game and load up my tester who's in the Sun Temple. And once he's loaded, we will click on the Mana Seal book to load the Mana Seal cutscene. So these big towers here that have these balls of light going up and down them, there will be lasers pointing to the center of this triangle at the end, bright yellow lasers to maintain that shield. And there will also be lasers going through to the Lunamechs here, and that's why you'll see their spheres in the center change from blue to a yellow color. So right now it's blue and there will be lasers charging them, and then it'll make sense when they turn yellow because it'll be like the yellow lasers fill up their blue orbs and turn them yellow. So that's basically what we will be adding in this scene. Now if you notice, the sky is light blue right now, and there's light on the top of this ring here. Now there's no light and the sky has stars in it. So the cutscene's almost complete. We just have to add in the lasers pretty much, and then all the subtitles here will make sense with what's actually going on in the environment. For controlling the light, I didn't do anything particularly special. Let's just go take a look at the Mana Seal cutscene. There actually is like tutorials on YouTube about fading the lights, but I just went sort of the cheap way, and I just added an animator here attached to the direct light in the scene, and I just basically used or not an animator track, but an activation track, and then just set the thing inactive as soon as the event goes where we change the skybox as well. So let's get started on the lasers. To do that, we'll actually have to make some of the skies or some of the inanimate things into the scene targetable, because the lasers are going to follow the ball, and using like an animator with Unity for that, I don't think it would work very well. So we're going to use the lasers that are built into the engine, because those will auto stretch. But to do that, lasers can only be cast by characters, so we actually have to make characters out of some of the inanimate things in the scene here. For example, this moving laser guide 1, or even the sphere here, we can make those into units. And to be honest, actually making the sphere into the unit's probably going to be the easier way to go. Yeah, so let's do that. What we'll do is we'll just go look at the Lunamech units, and I'm just, okay, I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate the Lunamech unit here. And we're going to call this one the Sun Collector collector unit. And the sun collector is that bright yellow ball. So we can open up the prefab, basically remove the aggro range from it because we don't need that, remove the nameplate because we're not going to have one, remove the charged Lunamech model, and then we realistically, the rigid body does not need to use gravity, and that will probably be good. We don't even actually even need a capsule collider on the thing either, although I guess it doesn't hurt if we leave it on. So we'll set aggro range to none, and the character name really doesn't need to be anything. For the faction name, we will need a faction so that these mechanical things can target each other. So for the faction name, we're going to give it a faction name of Inanimate Target. And we'll have to make that afterwards. And honestly, they don't even need a character class. They don't really need a unit frame target either. They honestly don't even need a character motor or an animator. I'm not sure how much of this stuff we can actually get away with removing, but we'll find out, and if any of it doesn't work, we can basically just fix it here. So remove the behavior interactable too. They don't need an equipment manager. They do need a faction manager. And they do not need an animator. Or a motor. They do need an AI ability manager. And they do need combat, and they do need a character, and they need stats, because all characters need stats. And everything needs an interactable. Okay, that should be good enough. Now what we want to do is we want to add the spheres to those things. So we'll take the sun collector unit, we'll pull it underneath moving laser guide 1 here, hit F to focus on it, move the sphere onto it, and then right click and go added game object, apply to prefab sun collector unit. Now for the sun collector unit, we'll need to make a unit profile for it to give it, actually, we can actually, we'll have a triangle in the middle that's going to basically be lasering these things, and these other guys over here, the Lunamechs, will actually be shooting the laser at that thing. So this means that we don't actually even need to make a unit profile to teach this thing any abilities. It'll just be targetable by the other ones in the scene. So then what we should do here is pull in another sun collector unit, put it on top of moving laser guide 2, and delete the sphere that was there before, and the transform looks good. And then we'll pull a third sun collector unit onto moving laser guide 3 and just delete the sphere that was there. So now all of our spheres are children of these sun collector units, which are targetable. So the next thing that we want to do is make that faction inanimate target. So we'll just go to the folder where we have the Sunsworn faction right here, and I'll hit Control D to duplicate that, and I will call it inanimate it doesn't need a resource description, and actually this is going to be the same faction as the one in the center, so we might as well just give them the ability name, and they are going to be shooting an ability called, I'm going to call it Friendly Yellow, actually Yellow Laser Friendly, because they'll be shot at by an inanimate target that's the same faction as them. So then we need to actually place the thing that's going to be shooting at these units, and that is the triangle in the center here. So let's see if we can get just the triangle. I'd have to focus on that. And at the very top of the triangle right here, pretty much where this light is, we will be putting something that can be focused on there. So to do that, I'm actually going to grab another sun collector unit, and I'm just going to make it a child of this direct light right here. It's pretty good. And then I'm going to move it up so it's no longer a child, but now it's in the same position. And I'm going to make a new folder to hold these things. So we'll create an empty. That empty is going to be called inanimate units, and we'll reset the transform on that, and then we'll move the laser guide in there, the other laser guide in there, the first laser guide in there, and this sun collector unit here. I'm going to unpack this prefab completely, and I'm going to rename it to the sun receiver unit. Then I'll pull that into this folder here, make a prefab out of it, and open that prefab and remove the sphere, because it doesn't have a sphere. It's basically going to be a completely invisible unit floating in the air just to receive and send the lasers. For some reason this thing has a really weird rotation. That's a little odd. Okay, that's better. That capsule collider being sideways was kind of confusing me there. Okay, so now what we have to do is make the yellow laser friendly ability. So the ability that's closest to the lasers is the life tether. So if we look at the life tether, this is a channeled ability, and in the example content this actually shoots out a yellow laser instead of the lightning bolt. So we're just going to copy that. Actually it shoots out a pink laser, but we're going to copy it and make it into a yellow laser. So under channeled ability here, I'm just going to duplicate life tether, and I am going to call this one yellow laser friendly. We'll set the title to yellow laser friendly. A yellow laser that targets friendly units. Doesn't need a resource description because it won't be something our characters can cast. It has no holdable objects. It's got no animation profile. It's usable without learning. Required level can even be 0. It has a mana cost of 0. Doesn't use an animation cast time. The cast time is a very, very long time. Let's see, something like 120 seconds, because these things are going to be basically casting this for like half the scene. And it requires a target. The target has to be alive, and it can only be cast on friendly units. The max range of this is going to be like 200 yards. We don't have to worry about auto adding it to bars or learning it. The tick rate will be something long, like 60. And for the channeled ability effects, it won't be life tether channel, it'll be yellow laser friendly channel. So let's look for life tether channel. Control D to duplicate, and call this yellow laser friendly channel. We'll change the title to yellow laser friendly channel. Doesn't need a resource description, can only be cast on friendly units, max range of like 200 yards. There will be no hit ability effect names, because this doesn't actually do anything other than make a visual effect. And the prefab name, instead of being simple lightning bolt, will be yellow laser. The prefab spawn location is caster, so do yellow laser, and then we want to find the lightning bolt. So that was the simple lightning bolt, and there's also an example simple lightning bolt, and that's actually the one that we want to copy, because the example simple lightning bolt refers to one of these cylindrical prefabs. So I'm going to duplicate example simple lightning bolt, and we're going to call that yellow laser, and we'll move it up into the prefab profiles directory in the Lost Soul. So in this prefab profile directory here, and let's just close up some of this other stuff here. Okay, so we also have ability and point to point and AI. So that's actually where it belongs, so it'll go in point to point AI. And we have this AnyRPG channel blue transparent, which is a cylinder. We also have AnyRPG channel yellow transparent. So that's the one that we'll be using instead. So we want to go to the yellow laser and choose the AnyRPG channel yellow transparent. The AnyRPG channel yellow transparent has a script on it called channeled cylinder, and the channeled cylinder script conforms to the iChanneled object interface, and this will automatically stretch itself between the targets. So now what we want to do is we want the triangle to basically fire this ability when the scene starts and to hit all of the friendly units around it. So let's just go back and make sure that the ability is configured correctly, because there's a couple things we haven't changed yet. So we'll go to yellow laser friendly channel, or yellow laser friendly, and that should be casting yellow laser friendly channel. And if we look at yellow laser friendly channel, it has a prefab of yellow laser. Okay, that's good. And then yellow laser points to AnyRPG channel yellow. We'll set the position to a Y value of 0 because we want it to come right out of our unit. And we need to change the title here to yellow laser. Alright, now if we look at our inanimate target faction, it is able to cast yellow laser friendly. However, this is a single laser. So what we need now is an AoE version. So if we look at Life Tether AoE, which is basically the AoE version of Life Tether, this is also a channeled ability. And somehow we have two Life Tether AoE resource descriptions, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, what we want to do with Life Tether AoE is duplicate that and call it yellow laser friendly AoE. It doesn't need a resource description, and we need to change the title to yellow laser friendly AoE. And we'll call it a yellow laser AoE. It has no holdable objects. It has no animation profile. It has no mana cost. It doesn't use that, and the ability casting time is 120. It requires a live target and can only be cast on friendly units. Actually, technically, because this is an AoE, it actually doesn't require any target. The target will actually come from the effect. So, the max range here, we'll just put 200. We don't have to worry about auto adding it to the bars, and it's usable without learning. It will be casting the yellow laser friendly AoE effect. So we'll make the yellow laser friendly AoE effect. To do that, we'll just copy the Life Tether AoE effect. Hit Control D to duplicate that. And call it the yellow laser friendly AoE effect. We'll change the name up here to yellow laser friendly AoE effect. No resource description. This one can be cast on friendly units. It has a max range of 200 yards. on hit, it does the yellow laser friendly channel. The default prefab lifetime for this will be 60. The AoE radius will be 200. And everything else looks okay. So what we want is for the inanimate unit target, to actually know yellow laser friendly AoE. And it also needs a yellow laser enemy AoE. And so we need to actually make that spell as well. So we'll do the yellow laser friendly AoE. Control D to duplicate that. And call it the yellow laser enemy AoE. So this is the one that's going to actually shoot down from this ball down to these units. We have to change that word there to enemy. Everything else should be okay, except for this has to be the yellow laser enemy AoE effect. So we'll Control D to duplicate the yellow laser friendly AoE effect. Make sure it's called the yellow laser enemy AoE effect. And in the title as well. This will be can cast on enemy, max range 200. Hit ability effects names will be yellow laser enemy channel. I think I have an extra laser in there. Let me just make sure that I fix that here too, because we do have an extra word laser in the one that I copied it from too. Okay. So that means that we need to make a yellow laser enemy channel. Let's just make sure everything else looks okay here. Yeah, the rest of this is okay, except for yellow laser enemy AoE effect has a max targets of 2, and we're going to have to actually add a new boolean here that basically says prefer closest targets to make sure that these guys don't target the wrong units, but we'll do that in a little bit. So now we want the yellow laser enemy channel. So Control D to duplicate the yellow laser friendly channel. Rename it to the yellow laser enemy channel. Change the title up here to the yellow laser enemy channel. Requires a target, live target, has to be cast on an enemy, max range 200. Yellow laser is the prefab. Everything else looks okay. So now that both of these types, or all of these types of units, are able to actually cast the spells, we actually have to make them perform those casts. So for that, I want to use the timeline. So we'll just zoom in here. And at 1 second right here, we need a new signal. So let's add a yellow signal, or I mean a signal emitter, and the signal will be begin ability. So we'll create a signal in the AnyRPG Engine animation timeline signals directory, and it will be the begin ability signal. The begin ability signal will target all three sun collector units and the sun receiver unit. So I'm going to hit the plus button 4 times there, or 3 times. Drag in sun collector unit 1, sun collector unit 2, sun collector unit 3, and sun receiver unit. So here we'll use the AI ability manager dot begin ability string, and because this is a sun collector, it's casting the enemy version. So yellow laser enemy channel AoE. So for this guy we want the same thing, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser channel, yellow laser enemy channel AoE. This is actually the yellow laser enemy AoE. Okay, so yellow laser enemy AoE. And we'll want to fix that there as well. And then in here we go to the AI ability manager, begin ability string, and the same one. Now for this guy right here, we also want to go to the AI ability manager and begin ability string, but he needs to do the yellow laser friendly AoE. So the invisible triangle in the middle will target the balls going up and down, and the balls going up and down will target their nearest to Lunamix. To make sure that this works, what we actually have to do is go back to the inanimate target faction and make sure that its default disposition is -1, so it's automatically unfriendly to our Lunamix who are part of the Sunsworn. Well, it'll be automatically unfriendly to everybody. So we can save the cutscene, and I think that's actually good enough to test. Go to the console in case we have any error messages. And we need to reload our load game manager here. And press play and see what happens. Alright, so we've got some null references here, and let's see what the null references are too. It's probably some of those components that I removed, like most likely a character motor or something like that. So here we need to check if base character does not equal null and base character dot my animated unit does not equal null and base character dot my animated unit dot my character animator does not equal null. That should be good. Let's see what the other null references were to. So if the character motor does not equal null, then we'll call character motor.orchestrate startup. And here, same thing. If base character.myAnimatedUnit does not equal null, and base character.myAnimatedUnit.myCharacterMotor does not equal null. Let's just save it and try that. See how many of those null references we got rid of. Okay, so this was 1 second into the cutscene, I believe. Yeah, okay. And they tried to start their cast. So if my base character does not equal null, and my base character.myAnimatedUnit does not equal null, and my base character.myAnimatedUnit.myCharacterAnimator does not equal null. This is actually the first time that I've made animated units that weren't, or I mean made stationary units that weren't animated fire at each other. So I was definitely expecting some of this stuff, but this basically gives us the ability to have like turrets pretty much. And that's been something that's been kind of lacking in the game so far, so it'll be nice to have that functionality working once we get it working here. Alright, so it looks like our lasers are actually firing. However, our balls aren't moving anymore, which is really interesting. So let's see what happened here. This guy definitely fired at the other balls. I think I probably have something that has gravity on one of those objects potentially, but that's pretty cool because that worked. This guy successfully fired at the other balls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him down basically so he's like right at the actually, you know what? He's kind of really Yeah, I'll move him down so he's like right at the tip of the triangle, basically. And then for these guys, this is where what I was talking about would happen. So pretty much these two lasers are supposed to be pointing in the direction of the other units, but instead they chose the units over there. And these two lasers, I don't even, what did they do? I think this guy's lasers also went behind there, or maybe he just didn't fire anybody. It's kind of hard to tell. And then over here, this guy didn't fire his lasers either. So we have to fix the units falling issue. So to do that, let's go back to the Manaseal cutscene and just take a look at what's potentially causing our units to do that. So we'll go down to inanimate units and look at these units here. Now they have gravity turned off right now. And this is set as a trigger, but I'm willing to bet we probably had gravity turned on automatically. And the constraints here, we don't really want to freeze those because we want this to move with the laser guide that it's attached to. We don't really, I think, even honestly need the capsule collider, because basically this unit, we don't need to fire any projectiles at it, so it doesn't need to trigger. Our channeled ability isn't a projectile, it's basically based on the position of the target game object. So I think the easiest thing to do here, honestly, is just going to be to remove the capsule collider and remove the rigid body. Apply that to the sun collector units. And actually, to be totally honest, we can even remove the nav mesh agent. We don't need that either. And it's not even really an animated unit, so let's just remove that component too. So basically, it's a character unit that should be completely stationary with a faction manager and ability manager so it can cast things, AI combat so it can be targeted, AI character, controller, and stats, because those are all required for everything. Yeah, that should work a little better, hopefully. So let's save the game and head back to the load game manager. And then try this out again. I expect we'll probably get a few more null reference errors, as I haven't ran it without those components yet, so we'll see. Oh yeah, oh there we go. Look at that. They're moving and they're shooting lasers. Very cool. So one thing I'm noticing here, it's just, oh, what's happening there? Do we have, okay. Okay, so here, in order to target units, we're targeting the capsule collider's center. And this is get hitbox center, basically. Let's see where that is in the stack. This is for the draw gizmos. Okay. Basically, this gizmo shouldn't be drawn if the unit doesn't have a capsule collider. Because it really doesn't make sense if this is like, yeah, a unit without one. So let's go to hitbox center. Find all references to that. And on draw gizmos. Okay. What we want to do here is basically not draw it if they don't have a capsule collider. So if this is null, then just return don't bother. Now, I feel like the tick rate was a little messed up on those yellow laser channels. So let's just go look at that for a second here. So we have the yellow laser friendly AoE. And this has a tick rate of 1. That's the problem, definitely. So the tick rate should be like 60. And the yellow laser enemy AoE, same deal. Tick rate of like 60. Basically, that'll just make it tick once a minute. So let's save that. And press play. Whoops. Yeah, no, actually we're fine. I have that lost game load game manager. Lost soul load game manager. So we'll load it up. Let's just pause it. We have no errors so far. Okay, now what I'm seeing here is basically there are no lasers. So this actually has to do with the tick rate. On our ability effects, we actually have, let's just go take a look at this here. So if you look at our yellow laser friendly channel, we have a cast 0 tick here basically. And we need to pretty much do the same thing on our AoE effect, because otherwise it'll actually wait like 60 seconds to tick. So this cast 0 tick is actually not part of the channeled effect. It's either part of direct effect or fixed length effect or length effect. Yeah, here we go. Cast 0 tick. So we'll copy that, and we want to put it into the yellow laser friendly AoE. So this is a channeled ability. And we'll serialize field and do cast 0 tick. Then we'll find our references to next tick time. It almost looks like it's meant to actually do a 0 tick. Yeah. I'm just going to put perform channeled effect debug message in here, because I want to see if this is getting cast right away. I'm assuming that it's not, but according to this, we start casting, we set our tick time to 0, and then on cast time changed, if our current cast time is greater than our next tick time, which it basically would be, then we perform our channeled effect. Yeah, I don't see why those guys are not casting. Although actually, yeah, never mind, there it is right there. We actually have to cast the 0 tick on this, because the 0 tick is automatically cast on the ability, but not on the effect. It's right there in front of me the whole time. Okay, so that means we need to go back to yellow laser enemy AoE and make sure it's casting at 0 tick as well. And actually, while we're at it, why don't we just change the tick rate to 120, which means it'll just cast its 0 tick and won't tick again, and that 1 tick will last the entire time. If that's the case, we want to go to this channel here. Right there. Actually, this one right here. Okay. This will perform the AoE effect, which will cast the channel in the AoE effect. channel effect, we want to set the default prefab lifetime. We want to set the tick rate to 120. And then same thing here, 120, cast 0 tick. We need to set the default prefab lifetime to 120 and the default prefab lifetime here to 120. Okay. That's better. So now everything is theoretically synchronized and we should properly see the lasers. Let's go try that out again. Okay, much better. Kind of. So the balls have their lasers, but the one in the center no longer appears to be shooting its lasers out. Let's go back, let's just look through all those again, and it's the yellow laser friendly AoE that he is casting. Okay, so we're casting the 0 tick. We've got a tick rate of 120. Actually, that's right, that's the casting. You know what, I need to remove that because that's actually a little bit confusing because it does that automatically. So channeled ability, we will remove that. Okay, so we cast the yellow laser friendly AoE effect, which we can only cast on friendly units. Actually, technically, that shouldn't even be checked, because it's actually this ability right here that that determines the targets. So basically we have a max range of 200 and AoE radius of 200. This one doesn't even have any prefabs, so the default prefab lifetime doesn't matter, it's pretty much irrelevant. And then it performs the yellow laser friendly channel, which can only be cast on friendly. I don't even know if requires a target here is even necessary. I'm going to try unchecking it and just see what happens. max range 200, does the prefab yellow laser, spawns the prefab at the caster. Prefab destroy delay. That should be 120 as well, potentially. Tick rate 120, cast 0 tick. Actually, that doesn't need to be 120 because the default prefab lifetime is 120. But let's try that out. And another thing I wanted to check actually was if we go back to the mana seal, I think one of our units may be falling down. So let's go check that out. We'll go to the mana seal cutscene. And I want to open up the sun receiver unit. Let's go into the scene here and hit F to focus on this guy. I want to move him down so he's like right on top of the triangle basically. And let's open up his prefab. He also does not need a nav mesh agent, does not need a capsule collider, does not need a rigid body. Also doesn't need an animated unit. Okay. I think that'll be good. If we go back into the scene, it now looks like basically the center of this thing is right there. Perfect. Let's try that. So we'll save the cutscene and go back to the load game manager. I also want to take a look at the yellow cylinder yellow. AnyRPG cylinder yellow transparent. So for this thing, let's duplicate this. And these are not going to be example prefabs. This will actually be part of the game because I'm going to put some, actually, you know what, let's just open this up and add a halo component. I want to see if a halo actually does anything at all to this. I don't see anything happening. Oh, wow, that's a huge halo. No wonder it was way too big. Okay, I want a small halo. You know what? It looks like halos may only be circular. Okay, so that's totally, basically not going to work. Okay. We'll remove the halo component. And let's open that prefab back up, set its Y value back to 1. And swap out the material. So I'm going to call this AnyRPG yellow laser, or cylinder yellow laser. Let's change the material. We'll look for something cool in yellow. So I kind of like the grenadier material. That kind of looks almost laserish. Alright, that's good. So actually I need to move that out of there because that's not something I can redistribute. So we will put that in the lost soul prefabs. Just in the root prefabs for now. And then go back to the yellow laser prefab profile and choose the yellow laser cylinder. I think that's enough changes. That hopefully our scene will work a little bit better now. So let's press play and check that out. Okay, now there are no lasers anywhere. Okay, so they are there, definitely. For whatever interesting reason, let's just go see where they're actually targeting here. They are, for some reason... Oh, no, there we go. Okay, I see. Basically, it's not targeting anything. So let's go inspect this scene here. We have our sun receiver unit. If we hit F and focus on him, he's still right there. Okay, that's good. We also have exactly 6 of these things. But it looks like the sun receiver unit potentially didn't fire his. I think I'm going to change the material on those things because that material, it looks pretty much invisible in this scene. That's an interesting message. Okay, so a bunch more null reference checks. Let's go back to the yellow laser cylinder and just change that material out for just like a standard yellow. Okay, and I'm looking at the performability effect here. I'm definitely seeing those. So the unit in the center is definitely firing. And he should be casting yellow laser friendly AoE effect. I don't know why it's not targeting anybody. I'm going to check the code and see here what exactly these are doing for AoE effects. So basically we're doing get valid targets on cast AoE tick. Okay, so that's the problem. I think basically you do need a collider. Yeah, okay. So we do have to add a collider that's a trigger. We just don't need anything else on the character to have them targetable. So we'll open up our Sun Collector units, go to the scene view, add a sphere collider, let's just drag this up to the top. And then just make sure that it's a trigger. We'll save that. And let's try loading the game again and see if that's going to allow our thing in the center to target the balls properly. Okay, so interestingly enough, he actually cast his spheres that time, or cylinders. Let's count these. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So the bottom 3 are his 3, but he just didn't manage to successfully find the endpoint for those, interestingly enough. So let's just see. I think this is probably actually in the channeled object code. Potentially, it's going to be requiring a collider on its source unit here. So it doesn't look like it does actually. Start object, end position. They all look okay. They're all just like game objects and vectors. So these guys went from the Sun Collector unit to the LunaMech units, and this guy went from the Sun Collector unit to null, or Sun Receiver unit to null. So we look at the yellow laser enemy AoE. So this is saying performability effect. And we have yellow laser enemy AoE, which is definitely not an ability effect. Both of these guys look exactly the same. With the difference of the enemy there. Might as well check that box and see if that makes a difference. The prefab destroy display is irrelevant when it comes to actually targeting things. So I think the best thing to do here is just put in some debug messages. let's just see what our cast hit. And then just make sure that these sun collectors, they should be on the character unit layer, so it should be fine. Yeah, okay. Nothing to do but press play and just see what the debug messages say. Okay, so we have a null reference there. And it looks like our AoE effect did hit those things. And performing AoE ability, I don't even think we can do that. There, collider.gameObject. Alright, see if that compiles. And let's try this again. Okay, cylinders still are not targeting properly. So performing AO ability on Sun Collector unit. So it's like it's not passing the target onto the channeled ability. Which basically means that we probably entered performability cast with no target. So we'll want to check if the target is null. And if so, we're just going to print null, otherwise we're going to do target.name. Okay. Let's see if we have some better debug messages now. Okay, so this is our yellow laser-friendly AoE, so of course it's null. No problem. But the yellow laser-friendly AoE this performability effect just doesn't seem right. Yeah, that's why. This is actually perform channeled effect. Okay, let's see. If we look at the yellow laser friendly AoE effect, it does not have a max target, so it should be okay. just add some more debug messages to try to see what's happening here. And then let's just check how many targets it had. But you know what? This needs to go outside of that because max targets will never be greater than 0. It's always 0 on there. Okay. Let's go back up to the top here and see. So, our yellow laser friendly hit the sun collector unit. No problem. What is that 15 there? That's its layer. Okay. Let's just put layer in there so we know what that is. Yellow laser friendly, perform AoE effect, get valid targets, valid target count 1. Okay, great. So, we have 3 valid targets, which are all spheres. And then suddenly we don't cast on them. We cast on null. Alright, that's really strange. So basically, where get valid targets is called in the stack. We're going to perform AoE hit on them. Let's do a debug.log here as well. And just see this is AoE effect.wait for delay. And then we'll just debug and see what target it's on. null, we'll print null. Otherwise, we'll print target.name. And then let's go down and let's see. So eventually we have to be casting the channeled ability because those prefabs, or I mean the channeled effect, because the prefabs actually get spawned. So, okay, so we know we're hitting these guys. There we go. Yeah, that was collider. Okay. But that shouldn't be an issue, basically, because our sun collectors now have colliders on them. At least they should. And indeed they do. They definitely have colliders on them. So here, basically, we're just calling these properties directly. And I would rather actually have like a setup method to do that. So let's go to the definition of, or the implementation of iChanneled object. And let's create a setup method. Basically, that sets all that stuff. So we'll make a public void setup, just for lack of a better way to put it, and in the setup we'll be setting game object start object, vector3 start position, we'll be adding game object end object and vector3 end position. So here we'll just do my start object equals start object, my start position equals start position, my end object equals end object, my end position equals end position, and then we'll put a debug in here as well. So this is going to be game object dot name plus dot channeled cylinder script dot setup. And here we want start object dot name. Only if start object is not null. And then basically we want to do the same thing for start position and end object and end position. Okay, so now we should be able to see what's passed in here. So we'll go into channeled object definition, and we'll actually add this to the interface. So iChanneled object, go to definition, void setup, and then we'll want to make sure that this function also makes it into the channeled object script. And then we can just go channeled object script dot setup, pass in prefab parent, prefab profile dot my position, target dot game object. Game object already is a target, so we don't really need target dot game object. We can just pass in target. And let's make an end position. And send in end position there. Then we can comment all this stuff out because that's now going into the setup method. And we should be able to see in our logs, hopefully, how we're managing to end up with cylinders that aren't moving. I feel like we have an error in here, and we have to remove that to see it. And this is a missing bracket there, and a missing bracket there. missing bracket here, and a missing bracket there. So let's load the game and see if we get better debug information out of that. Okay, the debug that we're looking for specifically is the channeled object script. Channeled cylinder script, which I'm not seeing. So interestingly enough, yeah, let's see if channeled effect.cast is working properly, and this should be my name. And we'll fix the spelling on that. Okay, so we are casting this spell. The target is definitely not null at this point. basically, I mean, the only way we should be able to skip that block of code is if things are null. So prefab objects was null. I suppose channeled object not found might be the case. Okay, let's save that. Let's see if we can figure out. This is the yellow laser friendly OE, so it's always going to have a null target, so we can get rid of that. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. We don't see any messages after that. So how is it possible that we don't see any messages after that? Because essentially, if we just bypass all this stuff right here, then we should end up at this message right here. And if we don't, we should end up at this message right here. Yeah, wow. That's super, super, super strange. So it should not be possible to have this message without seeing either this one or that one. It should be utterly impossible. Yet somehow it's still happening. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, that's the bottom message. Okay. So, channeled object script actually was null. That's what happened here. Okay. But, okay. Check inspector, channeled object not found. So we actually did get the right message. I was just not seeing it. Okay. So prefab objects was not null, but channeled object was not found on the prefab object. Okay. So potentially, I may have misconfigured my yellow laser. I totally did. What do you know? That's the problem right there. Okay. Do you know what this needs to be? This needs to be a debug.log error, so I don't accidentally do this in the future. Wow. And this will actually help anybody else that's using the game as well. Because if they forget to do it just like I did, alright, Unity, thank you. Okay, channeled cylinder script. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, let's save that and try this again. Now we're getting a new error. The same field is serialized multiple times. Base, add component window, initial selection backing field. Okay, I have no idea what that is. That just seems like a weird Unity error. So let's press play. We'll load up the mana seal. There we go, finally. Alright, cool. So, this guy in the middle has 3 lasers. The lasers are all following those things correctly, so that's good. However, it looks like the sunballs aren't lasering anything. We can get rid of most of these debugs here. Okay. Here what I want to do is I want to work out that prefer nearest targets, basically. So let's save this, and under AoE effect, I want to add that new Boolean prefer closest targets. So we will serialize a field here, and it will be a protected bool prefer closest targets, and it's going to be false by default. Now when we go through, what we'll do is we'll set int remove number equals 0, and then if prefer closest targets is true, we're going to do one block of code. Otherwise, remove number will just be this. And let's see, what we want to do here is a for each loop. So for each game object valid target in valid targets. Valid targets contains what? A list of AoE target node. For each AoE target node, if AoE target node, no, if valid target dot target game object dot, what do we want? Transform dot position. Okay. So here we need to look, basically do a vector3.distance. So let's see, if vector3.distance between our game object and that game object is less than some other value. Our game object is source.myCharacterUnit dot transform dot position. Okay, so the distance between this new target's position and my target's position is less than the distance between my target's position and the position at valid target's remove number, because that's the array we're going through. Then remove number equals, and here we actually just have to set a count, so int counter equals 0, counter plus plus, remove number equals counter. Okay, good. So what this what this should do, what this will do is basically we actually want it to remove the bigger one. So this is actually supposed to be if the distance between my character's object and this object is greater than the distance between my character's position and the one at the remove number index, then we'll remove that, leaving only the two closest targets. Otherwise, if we don't prefer closest targets, we'll just remove a random number. Okay, that should work, and that should allow all of our lasers to prefer their closest targets. We only want to do that on the enemy laser effect. So let's look at yellow laser enemy AoE. Yellow laser enemy AoE, yeah, perfect. And AoE effect, there we go. And we want to prefer closest targets, perfect. So that should allow our enemy laser AoE to prefer the closest targets. Now for the charged Lunamex, I think these guys didn't start their patrol because they aggroed the laser balls right away. So for my charged Lunamech, I would need to set the initial aggro range down to like something incredibly tiny, like 2. And in fact, let's not even auto enable aggro, because they don't really need to aggro anything. We will be manually targeting stuff with them. Let's try that. I think those are enough changes that we will hopefully be targeting everything properly, and hopefully our charged Lunamechs, when they spawn, will head down so that we can make them shoot lasers during the night. Okay. So our 3 balls have lasers connected to that thing. They look to be working properly. However, I'm not seeing the balls cast their own lasers on the Lunamech units. It doesn't look like that's happening. So let's go into the scene here and just take a look at this. So this ball up here has 1 laser. Oh, you know what? No, he is. Beauty. Oh, okay, very cool. Yeah. He actually is. It's just kind of hard to see. What I might do is actually move these balls so that they're traveling more like down the back of this thing here. And while I'm at it, like, I think for that to work properly, our units would actually have to be slightly back outside of this alcove, potentially. And let's just see where that laser is ending. Actually, that's pretty much perfect. The laser is ending like right in the middle of the ball. I don't think I'm going to get much better than that. Okay, so let's look at our navigation here. These are kind of steps. Kind of. Could potentially make my units wander up them. So let's see, what is the best way to handle this? If I put the animation in the back, but these guys may not be able to walk up these steps. Like this bit here kind of looks a little broken. Oh, you know what? No, this step is actually just going straight through. Okay, actually, I think that would be fine. So if I move my units back, basically, that should work. They should be able to get up this step because it's the step height is fine. Good. Let's try that. We'll go into the Mana Seal cutscene. And let's take all the units and just drag them back here. So we'll go back to the Lunamechs. We'll grab our charged Lunamech here. We'll middle click there, hit Control Alt F to move him. Let's see if I grab this Lunamech and hit Control Alt F. Good, he's also gone there. Okay, now I want to turn these guys so that they're basically facing in a way that they could get charged. And then take this other unit here and basically turn him exactly the same way. I'm going to middle click on the ground right here, grab this guy, hit Control Alt F to move him, turn him that way, grab this guy, hit Control Alt F to move him, turn him so they're both lined up, and then I want to go do that for the other units. We'll middle click right here, hit Control Alt F to move him over, grab this guy, hit Control Alt F. Nope, that didn't work. That was really odd. Okay. Hit Control Alt F to move him. I don't know what's up with these two guys. Okay. You Control Alt F. They're like, they really don't want to go on the ground at the same spot. These capsule colliders are triggers. Huh. I honestly have no idea why the units are behaving like that. That's so strange. Okay, if I middle click on the ground right here and hit Control Alt F to move him, then click on him and hit Control Alt F, yeah, they don't have any problem going on top of each other. Okay, and if I middle click on the ground here, click on him, hit Control Alt F, click on him, hit Control Alt F, now they'll go on top of each other. Okay, don't know what was happening there. Good enough, and let's click F to get to these units over here. I'm going to middle click on the ground, hit Control Alt F to move this guy over. Click on that guy, hit Control Alt F to move him. I'm going to rotate both of these guys sideways here. I'm going to click on this guy, middle click on the ground, hit Control Alt F to move him, click on this guy, hit Control Alt F to move him, and then rotate both of them as well. Okay, good. So now our Lunamech should be basically in the right spots. And for this sunball to actually shine its lasers directly on them, we have to move it back a little bit. So for this, we'll need to go back to our timeline controller. We can open up our moving laser guides, double click on this one right here. Let's just zoom in the timeline a bit, move ourselves back to the 0 frame, go into the scene, and this is this moving laser guide. So we're going to hit, just a second, moving laser guide 2. We'll hit F to focus on it. And what I want to do here is basically just figure out what his coordinates are supposed to be. So I'm going to hit W to move him, change, I guess it doesn't really matter, okay. And we're going to drag him all the way to the back right here. I think that'll be okay. And then when he gets to the top, which is up here at this keyframe, okay, so this thing basically just gets like super narrow at the top, it looks like. But we can still move him back a little bit here, basically. so that he can constantly shoot those lasers directly down towards the robots. Okay, let's end the recording, double click on this, and take a look at what the difference in positions is. And then what I'm going to do here is basically just delete all these other keyframes here. Grab these two, copy, move to 10 seconds, paste, move to 20, paste, move to 30, paste, move to 40, paste, move to 50, paste, and move to 60, paste, and why not just move to 70, paste. Good. So now this guy should be properly ping-ponging up and down in the right spot. Let's click on this one, go to Moving Laser Guide 1, go to the scene, hit F to focus on him. Move our timeline back to 0. Highlight him, click F to focus on him. And then now we want to record. We'll start him further back here so his laser can be directly lasering the guys. We will move ahead to this keyframe right here, hit F to focus on him, and move him back there. And actually, in fact, why don't we move him up here? This way. And have this be the end of his trip. Because if he's going to be basically traveling down the back of this thing, then it makes sense that he's going to end here. We'll end the recording, double click on this. Just check, it looks like we might have two keyframes there. Yeah, okay. So I want to delete this keyframe. And then all the other keyframes. Copy the first two, move to 10 seconds, paste, move to 20, paste, move to 30, paste, move to 40, paste, move to 50, paste, move to 60, paste, and move to 70 and paste. Okay, good. Now finally the third one right here. Go back to the scene, hit F to focus on it. It's also starting. Yeah, okay, good. So it's also starting at the top. No, wait, it's not. There we go. Hit F to focus on it. It's also starting at the bottom. So we'll move it up, move it back to here, a little farther out so that it's basically able to hit our guys. We'll hit record, just like jiggle it a little bit, and it'll make a keyframe there. Then we want to pull forward to this keyframe up here, hit F to focus on it, move it back just a little bit, let it make another keyframe, stop recording, double click on the track. We'll have a second keyframe really close there that we'll want to get rid of, basically this one. We can delete all the other keyframes. Copy these two, skip to 10, paste, skip to 20, paste, skip to 30, paste, skip to 40, paste, skip to 50, paste, skip to 60, paste, skip to 70, paste. And now all of our laser guides should be okay. We're going to save that and go back to the Load Game Manager. And let's press play and just see how that's looking now. Okay, good. The lasers are coming out. I need to increase the halo size on the balls because now you can hardly see them through the front. Okay, good. So our charged Lunamechs are working properly now. And then right here, we want them to fire their own lasers. So let's do that. To do that, we need to give them an ability that allows them to hit their nearest target, which is an AoE ability. We could ask them to cast the yellow enemy laser channel. But this one allows 2 targets and the range is too big. So we will actually make our own yellow laser enemy mech AoE with a slightly shorter range. And it will cast yellow laser enemy mech AoE effect. Yellow laser enemy mech AoE effect. We'll have to rename that up here too. The max range on this one is going to be way smaller. It doesn't need to be more than 20 yards because they're all really close to that thing. AoE radius can also be 20 yards. Max targets is 1, and we will be, actually it doesn't really matter preferring closest targets because the AoE radius is fine. It'll be hitting with the yellow laser enemy channel, which is fine. But it does mean that we have to make that sun receiver targetable. So I'm just going to open up the prefab here, and I'm just going to add a sphere collider to it, and just make sure it's a trigger, and that'll allow them to target it, hopefully. The next thing that we want to do is we want to add a new timeline signal. So I don't know if I have to make a second signal for this. We'll find out. Let's go to the Mana Seal cutscene here. And let's see, for the LunaMex, we want to go to the timeline controller here. And then let's just take a look at this first signal here. So this is begin ability. And we have basically the signal receiver is the timeline controller, which I think means that even if I put another begin ability, let's just move a little further out in the timeline here and just take a look at something. So basically, we have two timeline signals right here. We have activate environment. So what we want, I think, is about 55 seconds should be enough time for the mechs to get to where they're going. And we do want to emit another signal right here. If I go add signal emitter and I tell it to emit a begin ability, I don't know if this, okay, let's just try something here. Let's try removing this last guy from here. And now I want to go back to the begin ability signal at the start and just make sure, yeah, darn it, it removed him from that one too. Okay. So we'll Control Z to undo that until he finally gets put back. I think what we need to do, we could create another signal, which would be a totally valid way to do things. But I kind of want the begin ability to be a generic signal. So I think the best thing to do is actually just to add a target group, track group here. And it's actually going to refer to the charged LunaMex again, but it's not going to be an activation track. It's going to be charged LunaMech cast. And then underneath it, we are going to add a signal track. And I don't know, can I hit Control D to duplicate? Perfect. So we're actually going to add 6 signal tracks. And in these signal tracks, we're going to put our charged LunaMex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then let's see, if we right click on this and go add signal emitter, and we tell it that the signal emitter is begin ability, Then we need to add a reaction. And the reaction will be AI ability manager.beginAbilityString. string. And we're calling this one yellow laser enemy mech AoE. Same deal here. Actually, you know what? I wonder if I can select all of those. Can I just go add signal emitter? No, it only does it to the first one. Okay. Same deal here. Begin ability, add reaction, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser enemy mech AoE. Okay. Same thing here. Add signal emitter, begin ability, add reaction, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser enemy mech AoE. Add signal emitter, begin ability, add reaction, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser enemy mech AoE. 2 more to go. Add signal emitter, emit signal, begin ability, add reaction, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser enemy mech AoE, and finally the last one, add signal emitter, emit signal, begin ability, add reaction, AI ability manager, begin ability string, yellow laser enemy mech AoE. Okay, perfect. So now we can delete that signal emitter up there, and we should have begin ability signals properly beginning the right ability on the charged Lunamechs. Let's save that. And go back to the load game manager. Actually, one thing I need to do before that is I want to go to the inanimate units here, go to the sun collector unit and open it up and go to the sphere and just increase the size of the halo to like 15. So hopefully it's big enough it still sort of shines yellow out the front of this thing, even when it's in the bottom, like way in the back. Hopefully. That's the idea anyway. Let's see if this works. We can go back to the load game manager here. Save everything and press play. And we've got an issue. Potentially I didn't put a name properly, so let's fix that. We had yellow laser enemy mech AoE, and I forgot to change that up here, and make sure I just changed that up there. Okay, good, it was just one of them. So we'll save that and press play again. Okay, so the lasers are going up and down. We can see them basically heading down to the pyramid and charging it. You can see the lights even when they're in the back. Looking good so far. We can come up here. We're seeing the lasers. The lasers are shooting down at the Lunamex. They turn into charged Lunamex. Okay. That's good. It's nighttime. 1, 2, 3. And our Lunamex are not casting the abilities they're supposed to be. Okay. And here I think we need to add another null reference check because we just got a null reference. So in this case, we want to make sure that the character animator does not equal null as well. I need to add a stop casting signal to the timeline because basically when the nighttime comes, we want the receiver to stop casting and the Lunamex to start casting back at it instead. So to do that, let's go back to the Manaseal cutscene. We will load up the timeline, and this is when the lights go out, when it hits nighttime. So I want to add another signal emitter right here. We will create a new signal. We'll call it stop casting. We will put it in the AnyRPG Engine animation timeline signals directory. We'll hit save, and it's going to send its message to the Sun receiver unit under the AI ability manager, and there we go, stop casting. Okay, good. So now the yellow lasers from the top should stop casting. Now, as for why our friends, the Lunamex, could not find a valid target, let's see if we can figure that out. So if we look at you know what, I think I may have to, I don't know, let's look at this. Okay, so we want yellow laser enemy mech AoE effect. And this casts, yeah, yellow laser enemy channel. Yards should be more than fine. This one is also usable without learning, so that's fine. It's castable on an enemy. So we hit the charged Lunamech units. Let's see if we hit... character unit. No, wait a minute. Okay. This guy is on the character unit level. He does have a collider on him. His faction is the inanimate target. We shouldn't have any problem considering him to be a valid target. Let's scroll up to the top of yellow enemy mech AoE where we start seeing that. And I'm just looking for the point when he actually makes contact with the sun receiver. It kind of seems like he isn't, though. They are most definitely not making contact with the sun receiver. They're hitting a bunch of other stuff. Let's go into the scene for the Mana Seal cutscene here and just go down to where these guys are and just take a look. So these guys are going to be standing basically right here. And they're trying to hit that thing, which honestly does not look like it's more than 20 yards away. I feel like that's way less than 20 yards away. Let's just take a look at this. Negative 500 Y value of 14. Then let's go to the location finder. Negative 500 Y value of 0. So, a Z of 18. You know what? That may be considered to be more than 20. Yeah, okay, fine. It's more than 20. So I think what I need to do actually then is the yellow laser enemy mech AoE. Effect should have a max range of like 35, AoE radius of 35. Let's save that. And another thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make our lasers actually kind of glowy, so I just want to try something here. Do a glow material. And actually, why don't we Control D to duplicate that, and why don't we call this the glow yellow material, and we'll bring the HDR down to the point where it actually starts to look like yellow. There we go. And then we'll go back to our laser and swap that out for glow yellow material. Okay, let's save that and go back to the load game manager and try this one more time. And actually, while I'm remembering, yeah, you know what? It's fine. I guess I still need those debugs just in case anything happens. Okay, wow, that's way better. These things are like bright. Yes. HDR glowy. Now they're looking like lasers. Oh my goodness, that looks so cool. Wow, they're like, okay, much better. So we got these nice bright glowy lasers. Oh yeah, you can way better see the lasers through here. Perfect. Now the lasers stop and these guys go down. Excellent. Okay. We still got the other lasers. They're still charging the shield. Our charged Lunamechs run over here. They spread it around the thing. Oh yes, there they are, and they are shooting at it. Oh, that is so perfect. Bazoom. Okay. Wow. That worked. What's this here? Clear target. And I guess we need to make sure that the character motor is not null either. All right, so let's adjust the camera on the last part of the cutscene. So we'll go to our timeline controller. We'll move it up to the end here. Let's just see, what signal did we send here? This was the end cutscene signal at 65 seconds. Okay. So it turns to night here. We can actually move all these signals back to like where it turns to nighttime. Okay, great. And then let's see, we come in with the camera, we get to there. And now let's start moving our camera around so we can actually see the laser action happening. So now we go to camera, we'll move forward to here, we'll move it forward about 2 seconds, we'll go into the scene view, we will need to select the camera, go game object, align view with selected. So this is where we are at this point. And then 2 seconds later, we want to be kind of out here looking up to watch them basically zap that thing. So we'll go game object, align with view, and that'll make a keyframe. We'll move out 2 more seconds, get ourselves around here. Oh, and you know what? Actually, we need to deactivate these laser things at nighttime because we'll be looking up at this now too. So game object, align with view. Move out to maybe here a little bit. Game object, align with view. And let's move out to about here. Game object, align with view. Move in a little bit. And forward a little bit. And game object, align with view. Game object, align with view to make a keyframe. Keep going a little bit, zoom back out somewhat. Game object, align with view. Move forward a little bit more. Basically just keep like rotating around this thing, watching our guys shoot lasers. So game object, align with view. And then you know what I kind of want to do? I kind of want to zoom up here. So we will do another game object, align with view. Move up a little bit more, kind of like this. Game object, align with view. And then sort of zoom out to about here. And game object, align with view. Perfect. Now we also want to deactivate the moving laser guides. So this track I'm going to rename to moving laser guides animation. I'm going to add a new wait, I gotta unselect that, and then I can add a new track group, and then I'm going to rename this one to moving laser guides activation. I'm going to add a new activation track, add a new activation track, add a new activation track. Scroll down, select those 3, drag them up under there. Go to our inanimate units, take the moving laser guide, pull him into the top, take moving laser guide 2, pull him into there, and take moving laser guide 3 and pull him into there. Then we basically want these guys to be active until nighttime, at which point we will deactivate them. Alright, that should pretty much finish the cutscene. So let's save everything. We've got nice bright lasers. We'll do a final loop around so that we can tell that our guys are actually like charging this thing, and then sort of zoom out and appear over top of it watching the whole thing. So go back to the load game manager. press play. Oh, you know what? One more thing. My lasers are coming from the wrong spot. I need to do something about that, unfortunately. So, to do that, yellow laser, enemy mech AoE effect, and actually this needs to cause enemy laser, yellow laser enemy mech channel. So I need to now go to yellow laser enemy channel, duplicate it, call it yellow laser enemy mech channel, and this needs to have the yellow laser mech. So now we need to go to the yellow laser prefab profile, duplicate it, make a new yellow laser called yellow laser mech, and we need to set it at a Y value of 1 so that it'll be coming out of the ball in the center of his stomach rather than out of the ground at his feet. Let's press play and try it out. And I think I forgot to rename that to yellow laser mech. Okay, good. So we got sunballs. Our sunballs are shooting lasers. The lasers are bright and glowy. We've got a nice glowy sun shield. We can zoom around. The lasers look really cool. They're hitting the pyramid and powering the whole thing. You can see the yellow glow coming out of the center here. Use the power of the sun to form an impenetrable barrier. We go heading up past these bright lasers. We can see the lasers shooting at these guys and charging them. They flip around. They're fully charged. They run down. We still got lasers going down. That's fine because these lasers should basically deactivate themselves. And the sunballs should go away. Alright, they didn't deactivate themselves. That was really cool though. It almost worked perfectly. So the sun balls activated themselves, but the channeled object didn't. This means that I need to issue a stop casting before that happens. So we'll go back to the Mana Seal cutscene. Click on the timeline controller here, and honestly something's wrong with the camera too. My camera rotation is off basically, and I think I know why. Okay, let's load up this camera right here. And you can see that basically if we look at the animation, let's zoom in a little bit, we're actually missing some rotation values here. So right here, we lock our rotation, but we keep turning. Until we get to here. Alright, so I think what I want to do is I want to hit Control D to duplicate that frame. I want to drag it all the way over here, deleting the position data from it and leaving just the rotation data. No, maybe not. Okay, that totally didn't work the way I thought it was going to. What's the matter with the rotation data here? So my camera's coming straight in. You know what I think? I think I should just hit record and just fix this, basically. So I don't want this keyframe like right there. I don't want that one right there. I don't want that one right there. Okay. So I'm going to come all the way in and zoom out to this bit right here. Yeah, and then let's go into the scene, select the camera, go game object, align view to selected so we can see where it's going to be at this point on the timeline. We're going to move forward a little bit, and at that point, let's go align view to selected and turn it around and go game object, align with view. We'll move up to here a little bit. Go game object, align view to selected, and then game object, align with view. We'll move back to here, go game object, align view with selected, spin around 180 degrees and go game object, align with view. Okay, so let's watch how this plays out. We go here, we spin around, but it looks like we're actually spinning around twice. And this is due to some weirdness in the Unity animator where it's deciding when it aligns my view with the camera, it's not matching the absolute rotation values. So if we go back to the animation right here, you can see, animation, and we pull it up, you can see that my rotation is 250, and all of a sudden my rotation is like, wow, like negative 656. And then I settle to like negative 790. I don't know why Unity decided to do that. So feel like I need to pull the rotation out of there. Just delete that. And I feel like that one too is just like, it's way off, and I have no idea why Unity is doing this. Even right here, it's like just whack. And if I go to the scene and go game object, align view with selected, and if I pull my view like around 180 degrees and then go game object, align with view, and then I go back to the animation, it's decided that me moving 180 degrees was actually like a 700-degree spin. And this is just like some weird wackiness with the integration with like the Unity timeline and the camera and stuff. I really don't know why it decided that that needed to be a 500-degree spin instead of the 180-degree spin that I actually performed. So let's just like delete that keyframe. So if we move up to here, I'm not really sure how to make Unity aware that, hey, if I align my view to here, okay, what happens if I go game object, align with view? Nothing, right? Okay. And if I move forward a little bit and go game object, align with view, okay, now we have a keyframe. But if I go back to the animator, for some wacky reason, Unity decided to make a keyframe with no rotation data in it. Okay, that was odd. So let's delete that keyframe and then just choose game object, align with view. Okay, now do we have a keyframe with proper rotation data in it? But Unity decided that even though we were in a straight line, it was going to flip us 612 degrees. I have no idea what Unity is doing right now. This is some real messed up wackiness. So let's delete that keyframe again. Let's go game object, align with view, and why does it want to be 613 degrees? It just makes no sense at all. You know what? Maybe I have to do something really stupid here. Maybe I have to go back into the scene view and literally spin the thing around like that, and then go game object, align with view. And let's go look back at the animation and see what happens here. Nothing. Doesn't matter how many times I spin it around, it wants to be 600 for some dumb reason. Okay, so if we go back to the scene view and go game object, align with view, and then go game object, align with view, and move out a little bit more and go game object, align with view, and then move all the way back, and then go game object, align with view. Now let's go back and look at the timeline and see what it did there. Wow, like it really, 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 really seriously just can't figure out what it wants. And like, why are we going back to 400? So let's, I don't know, delete the rotation data from that frame. Delete the rotation data from this frame. Delete the rotation data from that frame. Delete the rotation data from that frame. What if we just deleted all the rotation data, like not just one part of the Euler angles? Maybe that's actually what's messing this whole thing up. Maybe this is like an Euler angle conversion, and if you don't have all the Euler angles, it interpolates and does it bad. Huh. Okay, let's go back to the scene view here. Let's see. So, we're coming up here. Let's look at the animation. Right here, we have no directional data. So what I want to do is I want to delete this keyframe. No, I don't. I want to leave that keyframe. But what I want to do is go into the scene and go game object, align view with selected, game object, align with view, and then go back to the animation. Maybe go like one frame forward. Go to the scene, go game object, align our view to the selected. Yeah, okay, looks good. Game object. So if I go align with view, it's not going to add a keyframe. So I just pull it up a little bit, and now I can go game object align with view. Good, now we have a keyframe. But for whatever dumb reason, that keyframe did not include rotation data. Okay, fine. So I will delete that. I will collapse this box. I will click here, and now I will go game object align with view, and Unity still doesn't want to give me any rotation data. What the heck, Unity? So why is Unity deciding it does not want to give me rotation data? Game object align with view. No rotation data. Why no rotation data? What happens if I click on rotation and then go game object align with view? Oh, now it wants to give me rotation data, but I actually had to select rotation to make that happen. That was totally bizarre. Okay, so great, now I've got some rotation data. Okay, so far so good, kind of. Let's just, maybe not. What is our rotation? Okay, so for some reason, Unity has decided that it wants to spin our rotation data around like that when we get up to here. Okay. So how can we fix that? Well, can I Control D to duplicate the frame? I can't. I can, however, Control C, Control V. I can then drag out just the rotation data all the way to over here. I can kill that. I can kill the rotation data out of this frame and drag that over here, leaving me with a solid, straightforward rotation. Okay, that's a little better. Now I make it through to here. I zoom around here. And my camera's all messed up. So what we want is, at this point, to click on that. Let's try this again and go to the scene view and go game object align view with selected. Go back to the animation tab and then go game object align with view. Nothing. Okay. So I want to go and just click add keyframe. Maybe that'll help. Okay. So we actually want this thing to rotate at that point. So let's go into the scene view, game object, align view to selected. We'll move it forward, zoom it out a little bit, and then game object, align with view. We will make it to the end and ensure that by the time we get here, go game object, align view to selected, spin this thing around 180 degrees, and now game object, align with view. Okay, let's go back to the animation and make sure that Unity didn't decide that spinning us 180 degrees meant spinning us 7 million degrees again. So we're going to pull this thing back, and there we go. I'm pretty sure it did. Let's open up the rotation and see what happened here. Yep, there we go. Just jumped straight to 700 for some dorky reason. I think I'm going to try something a little bit different here. This was flat and straightforward. So let's take this one, Control C. It contains no positional data. So I'm going to go all the way back to here where we have this messed up rotation. I'm going to delete the rotation data, and I'm just going to hit Control V. Then we want to go over here where we have all this messed up rotation data. Okay, you know what? That's a lot better. I think I might have finally gotten rid of the screwed up rotation. Okay, let's try this out. So, looking at the game view, we're going to shrink this down a little bit, shrink this down. Just check to make sure our camera goes straight, straight, straight. We start, no, what happened there? 260, 270, 280. Kind of do this weird bit of a jump here. Let's see what's happening there. So basically we start turning, kind of. We hit towards 280 and then we go here and we turn around. You know what? I think that's kind of okay. It's like weird, but it's kind of working. Okay. I think I might have fixed it. Let's save that and just try to watch it again. So go back to the load game manager, a Lost Soul load game manager. And play that. Oh, whoops, you know what I totally forgot? No, wait. You know, maybe I didn't forget. Prefab destroy delay. That's what I messed up. Okay, so we have yellow laser friendly channel, and we want our prefab destroy delay to be 0. Because what happened is we actually did send a stop casting to the thing, but when you stop casting, if you have a prefab destroy delay, then it'll leave the prefabs around for that amount of time, which is how we ended up with yellow lasers not disappearing at the correct time. So that should actually fix it. Let's try that. And hopefully we don't have any of this weird camera wackiness this time. So we click on the mana seal, load up the cutscene. I keep on forgetting to take those debugs out, but okay, so we're good for now. We're going around, we see the lasers, we go through the center, we zoom over the top, we see the lasers charging the robots. Now they're fully charged. I love that. You actually see them turn yellow this time. That camera angle's working a lot better now. It's like way more logical. Okay, good. And we're properly following them over here. We sort of head over to the side. Okay, wait, you know what? We're still shooting lasers at the top there. Okay, so why are we still shooting lasers at the top? Let's see if I can figure that out. Let's go to the mana seal cutscene, and I think let's look at the stop casting method. Go to the definition of that, and I just want to make sure that that's even getting called in the first place. And while we're at it, let's go to the console and clear out all this other stuff that's happening here. So we know that everything's being targeted properly now, so we don't need any more of these debug messages. Okay, so we'll go back to the timeline controller, and let's just take a look through here. So basically, we want to move forward a little bit. It's actually these ones up here. Okay, so let's look at the order in which these signals are happening. We send an activate environment, which is going to turn it into night. We send a stop casting to the sun receiver. So it should actually be receiving that signal to stop casting. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move this signal back a little bit. Because I want it to happen basically before, while the laser guides are still active. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Yeah, okay. So let's just take a look at that stop casting method as well. So this will clean up, interestingly enough, this will clean up ability objects that are part of our cast, but it will not clean up other ability objects that are not part of our cast, which is really interesting. If I go to despawn ability objects, let's just see what that's doing. This is in the character equipment manager. If we go to the yellow laser, let's look at the yellow laser friendly channel, because that's what this guy's doing basically. So it's a channeled effect. It's got a tick. It's got prefabs associated with it. there's no way. I think there's basically no way to despawn these prefabs before the tick time is up. I don't think we actually even have that capability in the engine right now, to be totally honest. When we cast this, we set up channeled objects. They actually get stored in prefab objects. But then essentially this cast basically just ends. The channeled effect doesn't actually have a time at all. Except for it can tick. So if it can tick, we started a coroutine. We would have had to. We're able to cast tick because this is a fixed length effect. Let's look at the begin monitoring, which is doing nothing. So in the character's ability manager, we create a begin destroy objects. And then we start a coroutine, basically. Okay. We add these ability effect objects to ability effect game objects. Okay, okay, good. So when we stop casting, we don't normally destroy long-lived objects because it's quite possible that we could have like put an AoE on the ground or something, and stop casting basically just means essentially stop channeling. Ability effect objects is a dictionary. Ability effect game objects is just a list of game objects. So And this is only a single coroutine, which means we could potentially be overwriting this coroutine every time that we call this method. So what we need is a way that when we basically stop casting a channeled ability, we also destroy all objects from any channeled effect. I feel like this needs a new method or something like that. Let's go to the definition of ability effect objects and find all references to it and just see where we're using it. So basically we call it in cleanup ability effect game objects. Which we only call on disable. So there's like a slight hack I could do with this basically, where I could just disable the unit for a second to get him to do that. But on the other hand, guess what else we have here? Cleanup ability effect objects. Well, wouldn't that be neat if our stop casting signal was just followed up by a cleanup ability effect objects signal? I think that's probably going to be the best way to go about this. Cleanup ability effect game objects. So for that, let's see, for that, we'll call stop casting. Immediately afterwards, we'll add another signal emitter. This will emit a new signal. We'll go AnyRPG Engine, animation, timeline signals. We'll call it cleanup ability effect game objects for lack of a better signal. Save that, send it over to the Sun receiver and call AI ability manager, cleanup ability effect game objects. So what's happening there? I see a plus sign. Does plus mean there's two of them sitting on top of each other? Because I feel like, where'd my stop casting go? Oh, that I'm just zoomed in so far. Okay. No, that's not stop casting. Okay. Pulled them apart so they can see them a little better. So first we're going to call stop casting, then we're going to call cleanup ability effect game objects. Then we're going to call activate environment state to turn it to nighttime, and this is all going to happen within milliseconds, so it's going to appear to be pretty much instantaneous from the perspective of anybody watching the cutscene. Let's save that. Go back to the load game manager. Just make sure that all these debugs are commented out now. Okay, I think that should be good. We'll try that again. Load up the game, see what the cutscene's looking like now. Okay, let's just clean up some more of these debugs. We got the lasers coming down. Hopefully things go a little bit better this time. And hopefully our lasers despawn properly. Okay, perfect. The sun stopped shining, the lasers despawn properly, and we have an inanimate target there. Good. So now the final step for this is our inanimate target should not show up with anything above its nameplate. We want to suppress the nameplate creation entirely. So let's do that. The nameplate is called by the nameplate unit. So we'll wait for Unity to compile here. We'll go into the Sun Receiver unit. We can go into the Character unit, because I believe this is what's responsible for actually spawning the nameplate. And here we go, initialize nameplate. So basically what we want to do is we want to make a serialized property to suppress the nameplate. So serialize field, and okay, private bool suppress nameplate equals false. We'll go into the initialize nameplate method. If suppress nameplate equals true, then just return. Return and do nothing. And now, no more nameplate. Yeah, that looks good. Make sure I've still got the sun receiver unit in here. Suppress the nameplate. And press play again. And actually, you know what? I bet you that our sun collector units, we probably want to suppress the nameplate on them too. We don't actually see them because they're basically like hidden inside of this giant glow, but technically they've got nameplates. So we will suppress the nameplate creation on those. And if everything goes okay, we should have the complete cutscene finally done. I know this has been an extremely long episode, but sorry, we're almost at 4 hours. It's an extremely long episode, and I was thinking, wow, I am finishing this no matter what, because I want to be done with it. So, cutscene's looking okay. Zooming around here. Lasers going, sun shields going. Text lines up. It used the power of the sun to form an impenetrable barrier. We fly up over here. We see the Lunamax special automatons called Lunamax would collect the light rays. Then we see the light ray disappear. They turn yellow. It's like going perfect so far. We got our charged Lunamax running down. They're running around. They're gonna go stop and boom. When the sun set, the Lunamax would release the stored energy to maintain the shield. And we go up and no inanimate unit on top. And there we go. That's it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the entire cutscene. I know that was a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely had fun making that cutscene. It's been one of the more challenging ones so far. In the next episode, we'll continue the content creation for Chapter 2 of A Lost Soul. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.